Transformative fiction, which from here on out, we're just going to say fic or fanfic because transformative is too long of a word, has been a huge part of our lives for a long time. And it's actually one of the things that cemented our friendship.
Yeah, all those years ago.
Many, many years ago. So Harper, what's your history?
Oh, goodness. I got started in original fiction circles at the tender age of 13 or 14. I had a friend in high school who got me into it. And I kind of went from there and then moved to LiveJournal. And LiveJournal is where I got introduced to fan fiction, and that was around age 16. And I just kind of ducked in and out and lurked in many fandoms from then to now. So I guess it's been about a decade. And the last 2 years, you got me into Transformers, actually. And I have been an active participant in fandom between this podcast and my own fanfic writing.
Yeah. I've been writing fic for over half my life now. I got started when I was 12 or 13. I have written some of the most like cringe-inducing, unfortunate stories you could possibly imagine. And now I'm older, I'm slightly wiser, and I'm still out here just filling as many little niches as you can imagine. And my actual outline was much, much longer than this, than 20 minutes allows for. So it's possible we'll do an episode or a stream about it in a later date. So just as a disclaimer as well, this is by no means like the right way to write fic, because there is no right way to write fic. There's no right way to write anything. Everyone does it differently. Harper and I don't write the same. These are just some things that you can do to get started, or if you're new to fanfic, some things that'll help you hone your craft.
Yeah, as with any creative endeavor, you're going to find a way to do it that's true to yourself and that makes you happy. And that's the most important thing.
And that's great. So let's start with the jumping off point for any piece of writing, your story. And one of the best things about fic is that inspiration can come from literally anywhere. We have both written countless fics based on offhanded comments, prompts, group chat meltdowns, shower thoughts, minor details when we're actually watching something or reading something. What's important here is that you're excited by what you're writing.
Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, it's a joke that you're doing for your own indulgence. And that's the important thing.
Yeah. And then the joke becomes serious and suddenly you're like 5K deep and you're like, oh no. Oh no.
I've made a mistake.
Fic comes in all lengths and formats. If you're writing a long fic, it depends on your perspective, but that's typically between 50,000 or 100,000 or above. One-shots are any length that you want, but are typically shorter and cover less ground. Typically, you'll get like a one-shot that's like a scene.
They're self-contained.
Yeah. Chapter fic is exactly what it sounds like. And drabbles or mini-fics. Drabbles used to mean like 100 words, but now it's kind of shifted to mean anything under 1,000 words. When you're looking at your plot and you suddenly have a multi-stage outline, you're probably looking at a long fic. But you never know. Sometimes you write a one shot, and like I said, you suddenly realize that there's a million more things you want to do with it.
Oh, how often does that happen?
Life comes at you fast.
Too often.
Yeah. So in terms of pacing, it's going to be much, much more important for a longer fic for obvious reasons, but it's essential in any piece. And this is one thing that you really have to commit to honing over time and edits. I personally am bad at pacing. I'm not great at padding out stories. I have never met a slow burn that I could pull off. It takes you time.
Yeah, it's time and experience. I started with short stuff all around kind of the same length. And I will say now, after like year and a half of just solid writing, and maybe not writing every single day, but just kind of writing continuously, at least like throughout a month, maybe you'll put down at least something. Mm-hmm. You get better at it. You can do things of varying lengths. You start to understand what ideas are going to take up what amount of time and space and things like that. And then suddenly you find yourself sitting down and doing NaNoWriMo and writing 50,000 words of a whole fic. And then you stop that and you're like, oh, I'm only halfway done.
So we'll move on to setting. And this is where you can just go nuts. There is so much space for details, especially when it comes to Transformers fic. If you pick a city that is just named and there's nothing about it on like TF Wiki or in the actual canon, you get to build that city from the ground up.
Oh, go nuts.
And if you pick Iacon, guess what? You can build that city from the ground up. You can decide to ignore whatever you want.
There's nothing that says you have to adhere to canon.
Absolutely not.
That's the whole point, is it's transformative. You are transforming something, just like the kernel of an idea, and you're making it your own and having fun. We cannot emphasize enough how important having fun is.
If you do decide to go the latter route and just go nuts, be prepared to give your setting a lot of thought. As with everything, treat canon as a helpful resource that you can ignore if it doesn't suit you. And one of the coolest parts of writing, especially in Transformers, is that setting as a character is often, pretty literal. I think of Metroplex, Omega Supreme. There's a lot of stories where Cybertron is not only a living planet, but a sentient one. And I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely when you're talking about like pacing and other things like that is where you get to figure out like the scale of what you want to do, because Transformers allows you characters that are so huge they don't understand the structure of time as we see it.
And they think differently.
And then they also offer you characters that are your height, and you could technically fist fight. I'm looking at you, G1 Rumble.
Looking at you, Tailgate.
Should we fist fight Tailgate?
No.
Probably not, no.
There is another panel on this weekend about poaching canon, I believe, so we're not going to harp on it, but mixing and matching is essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you don't do like an exposition dump, which I don't recommend because you're going to come off like Victor Hugo writing 50 pages about the sewers of Paris. Just, try to figure out how to work it in. And that's another thing that happens when you spend time writing. Like, you will slowly get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that panel is the one right after ours.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. So this is going to be a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, so once we're done, stick around and you can listen to talking about building your own canon.
Yeah. So let's talk about characterization, which in my humble opinion is the most important part of the whole thing. A lot of readers, myself included, will forgive any number of typos, pacing issues, whatever, as long as it feels right and feels good.
And if you're a reader like me who genuinely does not care, that's also forgivable. I will read anything that has like the names on it. You could just have like the faintest hint of a character, the LaCroix of a character, and I will be in it.
On a side note for this too, good does not have to mean by any means perfectly canon. Any fic, whether it's an alternate universe or not, will take some kind of liberty with a character voice. And it's the little headcanons and quirks that you give to a character that really make them unique, which is one of the reasons why we have character-specific slips and ships from a hat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because a character from a certain fic is very different from a character from canon.
Especially because you have to consider, like, because we are both avid readers as well as creators ourselves. And you get to understand when you've spent, like, $50K, $100K, $200K with the same character written by the same author, you're going to get a sense that this is something new that they have created. And while it might be, perfectly in character for what you think the canon is, it's also still something different. They put this character through a different set of experiences. And you're just going to kind of get a feel for that nuance that they've introduced. And that's another thing that makes it easier to write it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, with any creative endeavor, the more you consume what it is you're trying to make and watch other people create, the better you're going to get at it.
Yeah. And I know there, especially, the past couple of weeks, there have been a lot of extreme writing advice, like tweets and posts out there that make you feel like you're not writing right. Always take that kind of thing with a grain of salt. I have read so many things, and like in the creative writing, actual classes that I've done, you get a lot of advice that sometimes will work for you and sometimes won't. In terms of things like brevity, sometimes you get advice like you need to cut every third word in your story. And if that works for you, it works for you. But
take out your adverbs.
I don't. Yeah, no, I love adverbs. I think adverbs add a lot to a story.
Yeah. Yeah, people who say things like, you can't use like 20 commas in a sentence.
No.
Who cares?
Use 20 commas in a sentence. And if it's illegible to you, it's probably illegible to your readers, which is the point where you have to stop and do your edit and say, okay, should this be one like paragraph long sentence, or should this be, 5 or 6 sentences paced out to a more like appropriate flow? And that's all your judgment.
And it's all stuff, again, you'll figure it out as you continue to do it.
Yeah. I do agree that reading more will make you a better writer, because reading more is what helps you figure out, like, I like this kind of phrasing. I like this style. Maybe you like a certain perspective, like second person, which is rare in Transformers fandom, but not so rare in certain other older fandoms. So I want to also talk a little bit about etiquette.
Yeah.
And etiquette is one of those things that is extremely nebulous. It changes fandom to fandom, but here's just some good guidelines. And a lot of this is, slightly archive of our own focus, because that is one of the most popular sites at this point. FF.net is older, it's more unwieldy. Some people still use it, and that's fine, but they also just have massive content purges every so often. So,
and to everyone still posting on LiveJournal and Dreamwidth, salute ya.
Everyone's still posting on DeviantArt. I don't know how you're doing it. That's where I started posting my stories, essentially, was DeviantArt from like 2008 to like 2012. And 2012 was the point that I was like, this is no good.
That's right. Actually, you know what? I think that's probably has to do with just like the rise of AO3 as a usable website, because 2012 is right about when I jumped ship from only reading on LiveJournal to reading on AO3.
Yeah. And it's just in terms of user friendliness, Archive of Our Own is more like super popular because it does have a lot of customizability. You can have as many tags as you want. Those tags don't have to be coherent. You can do whatever the heck you want.
I've noticed in chat that somebody has said you can also post stuff on Tumblr.
I was going to talk about Tumblr too, because guess what? I also posted a lot of things on Tumblr from like 2012 to 2014. And 2014 is when I was like, oh, Archive of Our Own exists, and it lets me do a lot more.
Yeah. We also are asking for some clarification between first, second, third person, what we mean when we say that.
Oh, yeah, of course. So first person is when you write from the perspective of a character to the point that you're writing like, I walked down the hallway. And second person is writing, you walk down the hallway. And it's kind of forcing the reader into the perspective of the character. That's where a lot of like reader/character fic ends up being, because it's like asking the reader to put themselves there. And then third person is a lot of fic is just like, Rodimus walked down the hallway and punched Whirl in the face.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate to ask us questions in the chat. Harper has it open because he's smart. So in terms of posting, tags are your friends, and tags are also everybody else's friends.
Yes.
And like I said, a lot of this is more AO3 focused, but you have a lot of options available. So here are some quick guidelines. Pairing tags, if you are writing ship fic, this is good practice for any site, but if you have a background pairing that is not central to the plot, please don't tag it as a main pairing.
It's not cool.
Yeah. On AO3 and on Tumblr, you can add additional tags, and it like in the notes or anything, you can write like background pairing, this/this, because if you tag that background pairing as a main pairing, you end up clogging up the tags for people looking specifically for that background pairing. And please, some of us are looking for emotionally overwrought femslash, and it kind of puts a damper on our day.
I just want a rare pair. That's all I want. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Also, if you have a lot of background pairings and you just think it's too much work to put them all in the additional tags, because largely you have to write all of those out, you can just use other tags or other pairings not tagged. That's
True.
just in there, ready-made in the archive.
And it also prevents spoilers. If spoilers are something that you're concerned about, you can always, write in there, or especially in terms of content warnings too, you can just write additional such and such in notes, and then like all the way down at the bottom of your fic, there's a space for like post-fic notes, and you can put whatever the heck you want in there and not spoil anybody. So more specifically on warnings, and specifically on the archive warnings, use them.
Use them.
They're
there for a reason.
Topic is a dead horse, especially recently, but we're going to beat it one more time. Use whatever fits your story. If none apply, select none apply. If you have warnings that apply, but you don't want to spoil things, just choose not to use archive warnings. And if you do choose not to use archive warnings, best practice is to elaborate somewhere in there what people are getting into, if it's, a potentially upsetting topic. And that's one of those things that is great to put in the end notes, because somebody can just scroll down, read whatever's in there, and then decide if they want to read the actual fic or not.
Yeah. Sometimes people aren't hurt by spoilers. We are both people who, in any media we consume, aren't really concerned with spoilers.
No. I eat spoilers up, unfortunately.
And sometimes people are like that. So it's not a bad thing to be spoiled.
Yeah, just your personal opinion.
Yeah, especially when you're a person who has like hard triggers or even just like soft squicks.
Yeah, just read through things, protect yourself, and protect other people, because like
we're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Which comes back around to the fact that this should be fun. Everything should be fun.
We have a Do I Spy Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, I got my donkeys. I'm here at Icon Online. I wish it was an in-person panel, but you know, it's team sport. So let's talk about concrit, also known as constructive criticism. Don't offer constructive criticism to people who have not asked for it.
We mean explicitly ask for it.
And like, if you know them and you know that they're open to it, a great thing to do is to not put it in a comment. Because when somebody gets a comment notification, typically what they're hoping for is not, you need to work on your pacing. That's a great thing to reach out to a friend and talk to them about on their own terms. And especially if they ask you like, hey, can you read this over and give me some notes? Which yes. I do almost every time.
Every time. And it's also another thing. This is just kind of like a small thing. Don't comment on someone's fic just to say, hey, there was a typo in this part.
Unless explicitly there is somewhere on their fic that says, let me know if you see a typo, which some people do. And I respect them for it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a downer. And even if you think you're coming from a place of helping, it's not going to be read that way by the author.
No.
Which is just, it's, something to keep in mind and important to know.
Yeah. Because when you think about it, 99% of the time, people who are writing fan fiction are writing it for free. Mm-hmm. And the 1% of the time that it isn't that, they're typically writing a commission. And if they're writing a commission, what matters is that their commissioner enjoys it. Yes. And they're posting it online for everybody's benefit. So there's concret. And then when you post your fic, you should never feel bad about plugging it.
No.
You put the time and work in, you're not getting paid for it. And no matter what the final product is, I guarantee that there is someone out there who wants to read it. If this is your first fic and you are totally unconfident, post it. Share it on your Twitter, share it on your Tumblr. You and your friends will probably enjoy it.
Yeah. And, we keep saying this, but it continues to be important. The stuff that you're going to get the best traffic on is going to be the things that you wrote for yourself. Things that you wrote for your self-indulgence and to have fun. When you try and write something for a nebulous audience that you don't know exists, it's not going to be as good or as fulfilling as the stuff that you write just for you. Yeah.
And I feel like it shows in writing as well, whether or not you're enjoying yourself. The things that I look back on and I'm like, this wasn't good, are things that I was trying to fulfill, again, that nebulous purpose of, I want to write something that everyone will enjoy.
Yep.
Not everything is for everybody, and that's okay, but everything is for somebody.
And the most important thing is that it's for you.
You. So yeah, above all else, writing your fic should make you feel good. Yes. Sharing your fic should make you feel good. Getting feedback should make you feel good. And if it doesn't, then you should probably take a look at, how you're doing it and maybe shake things up. Everyone has slumps. Everybody writes a crappy story now and then. I have written a lot of them, especially at the tender age of 13.
Tender age of 26.
I continue to write bad stories.
Yeah.
And then I get to look at them and I get to review them and edit them and make them better stories. So, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? I don't remember.
I don't know, but I think we're coming up on the end of our time, so I think we're good.
Yeah. So let's give our contact info.
I suppose.
Okay. So if you guys enjoyed this panel and you're interested in hearing more, you can follow us on Twitter at MTMTPOD for our podcast content. My personal Twitter is at Unscheming, and that is, technically all ages, but I prefer if you interact with me that you're over 18.
I'm at Floral Punk CFB, and I also work to keep that all ages, but I don't really enjoy anyone under 18 trying to interact.
Nothing personal. We're just adults now.
Yeah.
And since this is an all ages con, we are not going to plug our actual AO3 pages because that's not appropriate. But if you know us, you know where to find it. And if you don't know us and you're interested in finding it, come talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 1:20 on the dot. Does anybody have any questions in chat for us?
I don't know. We'll see. But we hope you have enjoyed the rest of Iacon.
And that you will enjoy the rest of Iacon.
Yeah, and you continue to enjoy it. There's a second fanfic AU panel right after us, and we really recommend sticking around for that, because building your own AU is really just a great building block to have in your
we know, we've done it.
Yeah.
Many times. Okay, yeah. What do we got?
Let's see. What is our favorite genres?
Ooh.
Oh, hurt comfort.
Hurt comfort for him.
I just know it. It has been hurt comfort from the age of about 17 on. I just love, like, just even the basics. Get somebody sick, somebody else takes care of them.
I don't have a lot of broad overreaching ones, but like I said, emotionally complicated femslash. If you guys have recs, please hit me up. I don't care if it's a fandom that I'm in or not. That's like 90% of what I write.
We have, what series would you like to cross over with?
Wait, what did you say?
What series would you like to cross over with?
Oh, I feel like we've had some. Oh, you have Sense8. So
I do have Sense8.
That's one. I mean, my favorite genre outside of fan fiction is horror. So I would always love to, write a horror fic, but I just never really get the chance to do it.
Listen, slasher Transformers. Just saying.
If I could figure out exactly how to write a slasher fic, I would.
Oh God, slasher would be so fun. I'm trying to think of some other properties. The problem with Transformers is you run into the issue of these are giant robot aliens. So you're like, how do you get this to work? I mean, there's some like niche sci-fi properties that I've read that I think would be good, but they're also like niche sci-fi books from the 80s. So
yeah. Somebody asked, and this is actually what I wanted to talk about before the end of the panel and forgotten about, any tips for getting over being scared to write in case it's rubbish? That is one of the most important things, and that's why I'm mad that I forgot to talk about it. But getting over a block or a slump is so hard, and you will have, days, weeks, months. I've had full years where I just can't write to my satisfaction, and there's a lot that you can do to get over it. Like I said earlier, and Harper said earlier, reading things is a great way to get over it, because that helps you kind of, get a better idea of what everybody else is writing, because everybody else feels these things at some point in their writing career, and it might not always show, but sometimes it does. And I personally, when I'm in a slump, I like to switch things up a little. So instead of, sitting down and writing on the computer, I'll write in my notebook. And one of the funner hacks that you can do is change the font that you're writing in.
Yep. I
have been told multiple times, and it's actually helped me a few times, to just write in Comic Sans. Because when you're writing in Comic Sans, you're like, well, this doesn't have to be good. I just have to write. And then you can go back and change it back to, Times New Roman or Garamond or Papyrus or whatever you write in.
I think one of the important things, too, is that there's no threshold of quality that you really have to do for fan fiction.
Nope.
This is all for fun. Everybody's having fun here. As long as you're having a good time, that's the important thing. If you want to sit down and write something that's like a script where you have no like prose, it's all just dialogue, do it. Somebody's going to read it. I have several favorite fics that are just that. And it'll work. And if you want to sit down and write something that's all prose, go for it. One of my favorite fics from an old fandom that I used to be in, this was Cabin Pressure, the radio show. It was literally just called like 10 rules for living with this character. And it was written by like an outside perspective OC. And it was like the #1 fic on that site. There's no rules to what you're doing, minus be courteous with your tags, no plagiarism, kind of like the basic etiquette.
Yeah. Somebody asked a question earlier, fluff or angst, which for you?
It's angst.
I would probably lean more towards fluff, depending on, what the actual content of it is. I like a happy ending. I just like
it's the angst and then the fluff.
Yeah. Somebody apologized for stealing my name. Hi, Kit. Kit 2.
It's okay. The more the merrier.
Oh, Anna. Hi, Anna. Anna asked, Kit, Harper, when's the next shift from a hat?
When is the next shift from a hat?
When is the next shift from a hat?
We do have a sort of ships from a hat but not really.
We have a Fights from a Hat episode recorded, but not yet edited and up. So
yeah,
hope maybe you guys enjoyed that one. Maybe next
Wednesday. Fights from a Hat.
Yeah. If you guys are familiar with the podcast, you know we've been on kind of an unofficial hiatus for the last couple of months. Life's rough. Life gets in the way, but we're really, really hoping to get back in the game soon and do some more consistent recording. Anybody have anything else for us? We're coming up on the last few minutes before it is time to pass the torch.
And it's a great torch pass. Again, stick around for the next panel. They really scheduled this one great, putting us two back to back.
Yeah. Battle. Fight. That's how I feel every time I write a fight scene. Shameless plugs. What do we want to promo? Do we have any shameless plugs? Oh, read Sense8 Fic. I haven't posted anything since last September, but I'm working on stuff. Harper's birthday is next week, so who knows? Maybe something will show up.
Yeah, other than that, we have a backlog of podcast episodes. Yeah. And they're pretty good. The pilot's shaky, but you know, every pilot's shaky. So go and listen to those. You can find us on Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. We're under More Than Meets the Pod.
Yeah. We technically do have a Tumblr, but I have not posted anything there. It just exists.
It's there.
It's a placeholder, yeah.
Okay.
Goblin fic.
I think we are going to head out. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Iacon, for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, next year we can meet some of you guys in person. We did TFCon DC 2019, so
we'll see. Here's hoping.
Please,
all right.
Please.
Thanks so much. Bye
guys.
Bye,
everybody.